Let me begin by using, right here, in public, risque, even risky language that might well earn us all extraordinary rendition to the Guantanamo Gulag. Here goes: socialism, feminism, equality, peace, left wing. Through all her uproarious years, my dear lifelong friend Michelle Landsberg has fought for these noble, honorable, often unfashionable causes, and every person in this room is better for that fact.
When I read of injustices to women or immigrants or any of the people who don't have that plump, self-satisfied, moneyed power in our society, I am so angry on their behalf and I want to fix things. But you know, I had to fight every Christmas and every Easter. Jews killed Jesus, and we would get beaten up in the schoolyard and chased along the street. And I fought back. I fought the boys. So I'd love to be more like my mother, whom I adored in every way, but I'm really like my father. I'm a fighter, and I think that shaped me. It dawned on me sometime in university, in that profoundly chauvinist environment of the University of Toronto English department, that I could never be any kind of great writer. Obviously, you had to be British and male. Subtly, it undermined all my confidence in writing fiction or poetry.
And when I graduated in 1962, a clever but somewhat insubordinate student, I went to the Dean of English to ask him to support my application for graduate school. The Dean, a very pompous and conservative man, the only one at University College who affected an academic gown at all times, swirled his robes around him officiously and said, "Well, Miss Landsberg, I'll write you a letter if you insist, but there's really no point. The only reason to go to graduate school is to teach, and so long as I've been dean, no woman has ever been allowed to teach English here, and no woman ever shall." Well, I was already a feminist, and you'd think I would have hauled that old rotter straight to the Human Rights Commission. Except I was a lone feminist. There was no movement to shore up my belief in my own rights, and there was no Human Rights Commission.
Consciousness raising is clearly the preface to action. I think that Michelle sees the length of it, and I think she may have understood it better than I did in the first place. I think perhaps she had a better grip on the depth and breadth and difficulty of social change.
I just paid absolutely no attention to what they wanted. I could only write what I cared about and what I saw, and that's just what I did.
Michelle is really one of the finest journalists in the country. One of the first tests, of course, is readership. And for years, she has been the top Red staff columnist at the Toronto Star.
Very early on in my political career, there was one of those memorable incidents which frame a lifetime. She had ventured into the Speaker's Gallery of Queen's Park when we were in the midst of a debate. The Tories were reading Playboy magazine and looking at the centerfold, and she was deeply aggrieved that her husband was speaking and they weren't paying attention. So she started throwing spitballs from the gallery. She hit the bald pate of one of the cabinet ministers sitting on the front bench, who looked up at her aghast and said to the speaker that there was a beatnik in the gallery. And everyone turned up to look at Michelle. It allowed me to spring to my feet and utter the memorable, if obvious, line, "That's no beatnik, that's my wife." It's worth pointing out that Michelle was ejected from the gallery physically, and this was classic Michelle.
This is the only piece of advice I'm going to offer. Total commitment is the only way to do anything. The more you throw yourself into whatever's in front of you, the more joy you have in the doing.
I want to see what happens next in the world with my children. I just keep on wanting to see what happens next in this great plot.
every feminist knows that no feminist works alone. We achieve nothing alone. We are part of a movement, and a great many of you in this room are dear colleagues in the movement for greater and greater equality. We're far from achieving our goals, but we are far from discouraged. Today is a wonderful moment to hearten us for exhilarating battles ahead, which we will eventually win.